This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Kreese, Mino, and Mark, bringing you all your Defo news and talk. Welcome to Season 3, the Chaos Era. Now let's start the show.
Welcome, friends, to the Crystal Chronicles, episode 91. We are looking forward to another month of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia as we're coming off of our SQEX mobile stream, and we are just appreciating our final two second anniversary free multi-draws, and some of us even got a free EX that we told everybody not to chase in a Should You Pull video. But that's my story. I'm Mark, one of the hosts, and I am joined by not one, not two, but three of my good friends and yours. First, his name is Mino Spellgood, right back from work, ready to roll. How you doing, Mino? Great. It's good to hear from you. Kreese, how are you doing?
I am much more present than Mino is.
We are also joined by our great friend, Aarolei. Aarolei, how are you? I know you're excited about tonight's banners.
Yes, I am. It took me a lot of pulls to get my boy, but I couldn't let him sit on my bench anymore. I love playing Yuri.
If I could have given you my free pull and spared you the gems, I would have happily done so. But to honor your legacy, I will invest in Yuri and try to see if I don't hate him as much as I think I do. But hopefully. I do like characters that have more than one character, so he's got that going for him. All right, well, welcome everybody on Twitch with us tonight. It's great to see everybody. I know we're all excited to dig into this content and these two exciting characters and everything else that is going on. Welcome everybody watching video on demand on YouTube and on our podcast. Always appreciate all of our podcast listeners. And if you're new to the Crystal Chronicles, welcome. We've been doing this for 91 episodes. We kind of know what we're doing. That's up for debate. But every week we just cover all of the events of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia and all your Dissidia Opera Omnia news and talk. Now, we've also launched a new video series starring myself called TCC SYP in 5 minutes or less, a new short format of Should You Pull. So you can check that out exclusively on YouTube. And those are under 5 minute evaluations of every upcoming banner. I'm going to do that all through this month, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes throughout this month if we continue to do it. So check that out and share that. I think it was a lot of fun putting that first one together. I'm looking forward to doing a couple more here in the coming week. Now, we also have some very exciting news for all of you who are with us live on Twitch. We have an exclusive Square Enix giveaway from the second anniversary. SQEX has contacted us and said they have an offer for us to give away some merchandise, acrylic keychains, and so we are going to give away some free acrylic keychains to anybody who's joining us online next week. So there will be a raffle once I figure out how to do that. And thank you, SQEX Joshua, who's on with us now for helping that do it. So next week at 8 p.m. Central, we will have our show and we will work on that raffle. Yes.
Wait, did you say raffle? I thought it was an auction.
Giveaway. It's not an auction. No, it is a giveaway. It is a giveaway. Yes. So we will give away 2 keychains to 2 lucky viewers. You do have to be with us live. We may find some other things to do on our end for our podcast audience. And those of you who cannot join us live for various different reasons. But if you want to come on live, get a chance to win those, that would be great. And I do thanks SQEX for doing that. They have done that to us before and allowed us to give away some free things. So I always appreciate that and the wonderful community support that they have. So next week's show, which will be next Thursday. That is when we will be doing that. So look forward to that. That does bring us to the SQEX community stream, which was this previous Monday. And that, again, if you don't know, is the monthly stream where they talk about all of the things upcoming in the life of the game. And I love that they do that. Glacy and Joshua do that. I was cooking spaghetti, baked spaghetti for 120 people, a whole meal actually. And so I was not able to watch it live, but I followed along on Discord while I was cooking.
Did you say fake spaghetti or baked spaghetti?
Baked. I made baked spaghetti, green beans, French bread. We also had salad and plenty of desserts. So that's our free community meal we do every week at my church. And I was cooking this particular week. My cook team, which consists of just me, unfortunately, right now, because everybody else wasn't able to do there. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But I was not able to catch the stream as I normally am. But I did catch up on all of that stuff. So, of course, during the SQEX community stream, we had all of the upcoming events. I don't think most of us found any surprises. Now, there were a couple of quality of life upgrades, including there will be there will be a quality of life during the Pandemonium Ultimate Summon Board, where Special Boosted will apply to all of the summon boards. So the Pandemonium Special Boosted characters will apply to all summon boards. So that is an earlier quality of life change that Japan got a little later than we will. So that's very, very exciting. And there will also be co-op quests, level 70 and level 100, I believe, or correct me if I'm wrong, folks. With that as well. So there will be some co-op quests. And again, the JP side of the game did not get that till a little bit later. So those quality of life changes are coming up as well. We're also getting a Spring Fest. We don't know quite the details of the Spring Fest, but there will be a festival in the middle of the month, and so you'll be able to do that. Also, we are now entering a time when Dimensions End tiers are creeping up a little bit earlier. So Dimensions End Entropy Tier 8 is coming around in the first part of the month as opposed to the later part of the month. And they will be coming a little bit more frequent than once a month. We might get them every 3.5 weeks here on out. Japan, I think, is heading towards their 17th tier of Dimensions End Entropy, that in our case, Far Into Dimension for them. Anything else from the stream that you wanted to highlight? We'll talk about upcoming events and everything later, but anybody, Arrow, anything from the stream? Crease, anything from the stream?
We know the Springfest will probably have a co-op associated with it, and Josh did confirm there will be some free banner pulls associated with it. He didn't say explicitly which banner pulls would be free, but he heavily implied it would probably be tied to the Awakening Wave coming at the end of the month.
Oh, okay.
So just keep that in mind. There will be some free banner pulls later.
Yeah, so we always appreciate free pulls, and we'll take them when we get them, especially if you get free EXs that you didn't want. So, Arrow, did you have any insights from the stream? Anything you're excited about coming up?
Yes, I am super hyped for the co-op for the summon boards, because before I didn't like that there was no really easy way to farm artifacts for the 6 characters. So having a way to do that is going to be super dope.
Yeah, that is a good point. When we get those extra co-ops, that is nice, extra artifacts that you're able to do. Yeah, and additional co-ops are nice. It's always nice to have kind of a new co-op every week anyway, so. Yeah, 3 Pinellos. 3 Pinellos to rule them all. All right, well, we did get, in terms of news, a couple new things. We have Terra's classic costume. Her green hair is in still available with a gem bundle. And Onion Knight has a new costume, which is his kind of Blizzard-themed costume, Ice Sword costume. And that is available in the gem shop, and now with your regular gem sales ongoing. So that is the news of the day. That brings us to our retrospective. We have been going back and looking back at the characters we have unlocked and gotten some time with. So that is last week's characters, Rinoa and Irvine. I was saying, Chris and I were saying Irvine. My grandfather's name was Irvine, that's why I immediately say Irvine. Yeah, SQEX Joshua is saying the Onion Knight costume is based on the Amano art. Someone clarify what that means for me, because I don't have any idea.
Amano was the artist who basically did all the design sketches for all Final Fantasy characters up through, I think, Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, okay.
And FF10, he retired from that position, I believe.
Yeah, the concept art guy. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I have the books full of it because I have all the art books. But yes, thank you. So that is based on the drawing from that. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you for that clarification. So I'm not sure. I may be the only one who purpled, fully realized Rinoa. She's my favorite character. And Irvine. I just said it again. Irvine. Let's just call him Irv. Thank you, Mino. And here's my site. Rinoa, as we talked about last week, she can work. She is powerful, but she is a little bit clunky. She does have some downsides. She doesn't do a lot of brave hits. Chris and I were talking about earlier on. She does have that, self-harm kind of mechanic that puts her in danger. You have to switch between stances and sometimes unopportune times, and she's very, very slow. And so you can develop a team around her that makes her work well, but she certainly wasn't a character worth pulling for specifically. Thankfully, back in her original run, she was excellent, and then when she gets her LD, she is excellent again. On the other hand, now that being said, Jin Lee is a good friend of ours. He has, you can check Jin Lee on YouTube. He has done some Rinoa runs and made her work in current content. She is definitely, you definitely have to 3-3 or K9 word. Mine is 3-3 as well. And so being able to start right with her EX is just, you have to have that, and that makes her viable and work out well. So if you want to see team comps, Jin Lee, Dreamy, I think, has her 3-3 as well. There may be some other folks who are doing videos for her. So there are team comps that make her work, and there are other partners who are going to come along who are going to make her work. So if you have her, I think you're going to be fine. But she has some issues that will be addressed at a later time. Irvine, on the other hand, he's been great, and I've been loving using him in all kinds of content with all kinds of setup. Obviously, Aarolei and him pair perfectly together. They are just a match made in heaven, that the two of them work so well. But I've seen some videos, and I think we even have some videos in the TCC challenge where Irv is paired with all kinds of crazy range characters who aren't Aarolei. So, I mean, it's just, there's just so many different options. So, yes, obviously, Irv really shines with Aarolei, but he is actually good outside of her. But I am loving just being able to use him and enjoy using him. So I don't think anybody else has either of those characters. Aero, did you have either of them?
I luck-sacked Irvine TX.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, I got it in 20 tickets or so.
Nice.
But I have not had any time really to sit down and learn him through summon boards and stuff. I'm a little sad. I plan to this weekend, and I'm planning to book him probably. I may ingot him if I like him a lot.
I really do like him. Final Final 14. Aarolei is not always doing max damage on all her brave hits. He does give ranged overflow, recall. And he does have pretty much ranged imperil the entire time he's out. So if her buffs fall off, if her overclock falls off, she's still doing really good damage. And he is just a solid support option for ranged characters. So, he's not necessary. You can pair Aarolei with a whole bunch of other people. But he is a nice option, and he's a lot of fun to pair with her because he and her work really well together, as do a couple other characters coming out. So I've really enjoyed him. That's just my personal testimony, and I don't regret purpling him at all. That does bring us to the LC Chaos battle, which we didn't go over because it was just launching as we got together. So anybody want to talk about Rinoa's LC chaos fight, which was the little butterflies?
Do you remember what the mid-wave mini-boss was, Mark? I can't remember it.
I can tell you here in a second if I can.
Quistis eyeballs.
Oh, yeah, it was the spark eyes.
Oh, the eyeballs. Yeah, those guys are a pain in the butt. Luckily, they're pretty frail for
They
Rinoa,
are.
so
Yeah.
they weren't too much of a nuisance when I ran them. The big issue was just managing Rinoa's final wave boss, keeping the ads under control without wasting too much HP damage, killing them time and time again. For that reason, HP splash damage characters do better than AoE distributed HP damage characters. For example, Rinoa does a very good job on this fight because she can focus the boss and still splash HP damage on the small ads. Aarolei, incidentally, does the same thing better, so she works great for this too.
Aarolei Irv, they beat this up. They beat this up real good. Yeah, I got it in, I think, under 50 turns the first time I ran through it, with max points. Yeah, with Aarolei, King, and Irv. Yeah, they just tore it apart. But there are plenty of runs. Yeah, Aarolei, Ultima. Shout out to Ultima. Yeah, he did Aarolei Irving dual run. Good for you, buddy. I appreciate that. But there are plenty of other characters. Slide, our friend who loves Final Fantasy VIII, did a Laguna Rinoa Irving run and was able to do that. Teleute from the Tomberry Troop did a Selfie Squall Rinoa run. Ink did Sabin Sarah Celeste because he's just who he is. Sidra Games did 7 Warrior of Light Squall. Aarolei, what did you bring? I'm looking for you, but what did you bring to this fight?
I went kind of stupid and decided to bring King, Balthier, and Rim because I could. And Balthier was actually kind of good because he was really good at controlling the ads and focusing mainly on the boss. And I brought a Setzer friend because I delayed the crap out of it. It's kind of entertaining. I kind of just kept trying to give myself turns so it didn't get the ads back and just finish it in the 75 turn count or whatever.
Yeah, the turn count's a little tight, but again, there's enough powerful characters that, I mean, we have Zac now, you have so many options. Emperor, Ultimecia. You can bring Warrior Light to help you with this one. There are so many. If you look on Macnol's Call to Arms, MACNOL, there's 79 submissions to that already, and it's there's a lot of different tactics. So I don't think this one was terribly difficult, but allowed us to bring some of those new characters and allow them to shine. So there you go. I think
I brought a team of Aarolei, Barrett, and I don't remember who my third was. Maybe Zac. I didn't find it too challenging. It felt like one of the easiest chaoses we've had in a while, but that is probably just due to Aarolei. She trivializes a lot of things at the moment.
She trivialized it a lot, I think is safe to say. But I think, looking at the Call to Arms, there was definitely a number of different options. So, anything else on Rinoa, Irv, or her lost chapter? I always love seeing scenes from Final Fantasy VIII and seeing characters, and Rinoa and Swallow are my two favorite characters in Final Fantasy. Get together and have those moments together. So if not, let's move on to the other event that we have, which is Gau's event, Wild Child of the Veldt. So that brought us Terra's EX Realization, finally, and a new character named Gau. So Kreese is going to walk us through both of those, and then we'll have a little bit of conversation.
Yeah, let's talk about Terra first, because she'll be pretty fast. All she got this time was her EX Realization. She was already level 70, and she got a rework when she got her 70. Nothing's changed there. Her EX Realization made her EX ability Riot Blade an actually useful button to push. Now it has Brave Overflow. If you fully realize it has a better hit count, it deals 50% HP splash damage to non-primary targets. She gets a new buff called Esper's Blood, which provides her a small attack bonus and in Brave bonus and an overflow limit increase. She gets an HP ++ and a Brave ++ that just hit harder and have more Brave hits associated with them. Riot Blade recharges faster and grants magic, full stacks of magic upon use. And if you use her EX ability, she gets dual cast afterwards for one use, similar to how VV, VV and Aiko get a dual cast ability as their HP ability for one use after their EX cast. Overall, it fixes a lot of Terra's issues. The problem is that she isn't any better than other mages we have. Aero and I were discussing this before the podcast and in chat earlier this week. Terra is not necessarily any better than, for example, Ace. And Ace has been available as a fully realized character for months now. So if you're a fan of her, she's okay. But she still has the same problem she did before. Thanks to her new frame buff, she now again fills up 4 buff slots all on her own. Generic attack up, generic max brave up, generic speed up, and Esper's Blood. She has to balance around her stacks, which isn't as big an issue thanks to her EX refilling her stacks of magic, her EX recharging faster, her having better HP plus and Brave plus, her having a dual cast that's an actually strong button to push after using her EX. So a lot of her issues are fixed, but there's still she's not good enough to really using her unless you really like her, I think is what the ultimate thing is with Terra.
Yeah, I like Terra. Obviously, she's a favorite of a lot of people. She's not necessarily one of my favorites, as that's not really one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. I know I am a heretic, but that's how it goes. But yeah, she was so powerful for so long, and now she, kind of has always been viable, but never really been on the top since that initial 1535 era. Time. Her EX has always been one of the worst EXs, and it did get a little upgrade, but I
genuinely think her EX is really good now.
No,
Again,
right.
Faster recast, it deals decent damage, it has splash damage. It's gotten over that hump where it was much better if her HP was lower. That's not as consequential anymore. It's just that her base kit has gone through so many reworks that you can still see the bones of what it was supposed to be early on.
Right.
And it makes it very janky.
Yeah, and it just, like you said, there was that whole era where the EX just didn't do anything. You didn't even want to use it. But it does, several of her issues are fixed, but it doesn't pump her up to, like you said, better than Ace, better than Kuja, better than Emperor, better than Rinoa, better than Golbez, better than Ultimecia. We have so many mages right now who are viable that, to stand out, you really need to be something special. And yeah, she's really not there quite yet. Yeah, Aero, do you have any opinions on Terra? I don't think you're a big fan, are you?
I don't really care about the EX Plus rework at all. Okay. And I've pretty much said if you like her, that's fine. Build her, but not for me. I have Vaughn, and I try to compare to Vaughn a little bit here, and he just has the far superior HP plus. That's always there pretty much the whole fight. And he has Blind, which is a far more useful debuff sometimes than the little crappy debuffs that Terra has. So I don't know. I can't find a reason to build her, especially when I'm picking up Onion Knight and Yuri. So that's just personal thing for me.
Hopefully when she gets her burst and Esper mode, we'll be much more impressed by what she can do. And we'll all be praying to the RNG that we can get her burst weapon. So, Kreese, do you want to take us over this other character? who came around from Final Fantasy VI named Gau.
Sure, let's go through Gau. So Gau is a mage AoE damage dealing healing character for the party, except he can only either be a massive damage dealer or a massive healer Brave Battery at one time. The way he works is that he's an enemy phase character. So similar to someone like 8 or Emperor, he does a lot of things when enemies act. He basically has counter stances that he enters that allow him to do things during those counter stances. If an enemy hits with a Brave or HP attack an ally or Gau himself, and it depends on which stance he's in. He has two stances, one based on his first ability, one based on his second ability. His first ability, Life Shaver, is his healing, more supporting stance. He heals the party after dealing single target HP damage, Brave and HP damage. He provides some battery, and he enters a counter stance where he single target counterattacks anyone who acts, any enemies that act, where he provides some Brave battery based on damage dealt, and he heals the party's HP based on damage dealt. His second ability, Cat Scratch, puts him in an offensive AoE stance where he deals AoE Brave hits, followed by a single target HP hit that deals splash damage to non-primary targets. His counterattack in this stance is an AoE Brave plus single target HP hit. And along with these stances, he gets variants of Brave Plus and HP Plus depending on the stance. So he batteries with his Brave Plus and HP Plus. In Life Shaver, he deals AoE Brave damage in Cat Scratch and can deal some splash damage with his HP Plus. The issue is that he's locked into a stance for 3 turns after using an ability. He cannot activate the other ability until he does 3 actions, so keep that in mind. Once you use Cat Scratch, for example, you have to wait 3 actions before Gau can switch to Life Shaver, which can be problematic if you're using him as a primary healer, because it means he might not be able to heal when you need him to if you do not plan correctly. His EX ability is Beast Raid. It's basically a massive AoE Brave plus HP attack. It only deals single target HP damage. Keep that in mind. It deals a lot of Brave AoE shave, and it inflicts Earth Resist down. Since Gau is a pure Earth element character, everything he does is tied to the Earth element. He needs that Earth Resist down if he's not dealing with Earth weak enemies. His Realization makes his Beast Raid ability better, gives him some improved stats, but it's not a huge bonus. It's a nice bonus, but not a huge one. And his additional ability gives him Stone Enchant for a few turns, and an attack bonus if you fully awaken him. Along with that, he has 2 unique buffs, Beast Teachings and Feral Youth, which both just give him some extra attack, max Brave, and speed. In general, I fully realized Gau. I actually pulled for him pretty hard. I found him to be a very interesting character to play with. His EX ability is not up as I would like, is what I found, because he has to rely relatively heavily on his Brave Plus and HP Plus abilities while he is in a specific stance to either A, conserve ability uses, or B, burn out his current stance if you need to switch stances. A note with the way his stances work is that you can actually continue spamming the same ability. So, for example, if you use Cat Scratch, even though Life Shaver will be locked out, you can continue to use Cat Scratch, but that will delay the amount of time it takes until you can get back into Life Shaver. So keep that in mind. He will do a lot of damage, but you won't be able to heal or Brave Battery at all. Another issue with Gau is that he can become very prone to getting broken if you don't have a tank with him if he is in Cat Scratch stance, because he dumps his Brave every counter attack, and if he is being targeted, he gets broken frequently, which can be a problem. You got to be careful and either pair him with someone like Warrior Light who can protect him with shields, or a very strong tank who can block all of those attacks. Just keep that in mind. And the third thing to keep in mind with Gau is that once you activate his stance, on his 3rd action after activating his stance, he will no longer counterattack again, but he cannot switch stances until he finishes that action. So he's stuck with one action where he cannot counterattack, but he's also still locked to the stance. So you got to be careful and count his actions carefully so you aren't stuck in a position where you're waiting for an ability to come up, to switch stances, but you're also not counterattacking for a round. And I think that's the big points. Gau is pretty strong if you can make everything work. If you get that Earth Resist down, he deals a lot of damage. He's useful as a decent Brave Battery, especially if you prop him up with a party support who can buff his attack stats. The downside is that he is not a party support in the traditional sense. He doesn't provide any increases to allies' attack and max Brave, and his own max Brave attack bonuses are relatively modest. He really does need that outside help from a party buffer to make him work. And Josh was mentioning that the thing I mentioned with the counterattack thing is a good place to use his additional ability. So if you know you're going to run into an instance where you might miss a counterattack action, you can use his additional ability to burn an ability use, get an immediate next turn, and get him into a counterattack stance again. I've been enjoying him. He's very strong in what he does. You just got to be careful you don't pair him in the wrong situations. So he's not perfect. He has the issues that I mentioned. He can be easily broken. You have to get him into Life Shaver if you need that healing. But he's also not going to be dealing as much damage if he's in Life Shaver stance. He doesn't dump Brave on his counters, but he does battery a decent amount, and he does heal a decent amount. So I've been having fun with him. Mark, do you have any thoughts on Gau?
Yeah, well, it seems like he has this very unique ability to be able to heal on an enemy turn, which is really cool, I think. And he is able to counterattack from any attack, which is cool. But that does kind of mean you need to almost pair him with a tank and another support. And you know, so if you're not careful, you're really low on DPS. But I guess if you're pairing him with Zach and, you know, Iggy or Zach and Rosa or some combination like that, you're probably doing decent damage. Like, what kind of team comps have you been using with him?
I'll point out that because the two tanks we have that can be fully realized actually already provide some party auras,
right,
he's not as dependent on like massive support allies. He can run with a full DPS and a tanky party buffer. So he's not just dead in the water if you don't pair him with like a full party support like Rosa or Y'shtola, for example. I've been running him with characters like Zac and Warrior of Light, and then usually a stronger DPS, or in cases where I know defenses are going to be a big problem, characters like Barrett, for example, and Bartz, characters that don't provide healing on their own, but provide massive party buff auras.
Yeah, well, hey, stop for a second just to thank God of Cloud 9, Arrow, and Illuminasa for the cheers, and earlier Ragnamune for the cheers. Thank you all for those subscriptions on Twitch and bits and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, Arrow, did you pull for Gau, or did you have any experience with him?
I did not pull for Gau. I mean, I put some tickets on the banner, but I got a free Terra EX that instead of Gau. So I kind of like the kit in theory, and I think characters like Cryle make him a lot better because it gives you free Brave on like enemy turns, something he seriously lacks. And I think things like that are really cool with him, but it's just, I don't know. It's up to you. Do you think you can make a team where you can make him work or not? I'm kind of on the fence. Part of me likes him and part of me hates him. It's just,
I've been trying to make Barrett work since I pulled him, so I am more than willing to make lackluster characters work. And I've been a big fan of these characters with these interesting gimmicks, like Barrett and his satellite ability, Gau with his counterattacking and potential healing during enemy turns. So I found ways to make him work. I haven't really brought him through the ringer, like brought him back to certain EX fights, but he can work pretty well in certain instances. You just got to be careful of his element issues. And also, you got to be careful of the fact that he is not a full party support.
Right, and that's the thing. I think he's an interesting character, and if you think you have like the right supports that like Bart's, like you guys talked about, I think he's worth trying if you got him. But otherwise, I wouldn't go digging very hard from unless he's like one of your favorite characters or you're just an FF6 collector or whatever. So I don't know. I think he's cool, but I don't know if he's quite for me.
That's fair. Other supports I realize that I have not tried with him, but could potentially work, are VIII and Sarah, both characters that got realizable about a month and a half ago, who are still pretty solid nowadays, and they both provide those party auras that Gau lacks, but also lack the healing that he provides. So they are good pairs for him too, I would believe. I'll have to try them out in the future.
All right, Mino.
Gau sucks ass. Seriously. The only proof you need to look at the stream, the Square Enix stream, and see that Josh brought an MLB Gau to the co-op chaos with an MLB Synergy Noctis and an MLB RNA, and they still wiped. Okay, so that's a joke, of course.
They brought no party auras, no healing outside of Gau.
That's a joke, but serious criticism though. Man, his kit just does not work. I like the concept, and I'll go over the upsides at the end, but he has so many downsides. Like Kreese already said, if you want to use his second skill stance, where he counters with the Brave plus HP, you really need to battery him and throw a tank in with him to make it viable. Otherwise, he's going to get broken a lot. And I've seen a lot of videos where he's doing 0 damage, where, like, say the enemy does an AoE or targets him to break, and then he'll counter with his Brave plus HP and do 0 damage. And, you know, it's extremely wasteful. And then his skill 1, which heals and recovers Brave based on Brave damage done. Brave damage done is just the worst metric. And I'm pretty sure up to JP at current JP, nobody else does it, because I think the developers realize what a shit mechanic it is. If it was at least based off of like a stat, it'd be constant. If it was based off of HP damage, like a lot of other people, you can battery him and he'd be, he'd survive a lot of content. Even when his own damage starts falling off, you can carry him with batteries and auras. But based on his own Brave damage, let's not mention the number of Chaos fights we have this month that absorb Earth, which really screws him. And then you go a month in later, and, power crept characters like General Leo and others are just going to crush him. So there's really no point. But Brave damage is just awful. You have to build so many buffs and auras around him for it to function, and it does not function very well. Any enemy with high defense, absorb Earth, resist Earth, well, no, you can get around the magic with the enchant, I guess, but basically anything that scales off of Brave damage is just horrendous. I think it's the worst scaling metric in the game. And then, as I said, I need to emphasize with skill 2, unless you build an entire party around skill 2 usage, it is not good at all. Liabilities for breaks, liabilities to nerf your score because of breaks and possible deaths and HP damage taken, and then chances of him starting his turn with minimal Brave because he just countered and did nothing and dumped all his non-existent Brave, and he's back to whatever his Brave region is when it's his turn again. And then realistically, it's only good when there's a lot of enemies, right? 2 or 3, because against a single target, it's not doing much. Neither skill.
That is fair. Gau definitely works better in AoE environments. He needs at least 2 targets because most of his Brave damage comes from hitting multiple targets at once.
Right. So he needs so many things to go his way to be a decent character. Even if you have 3-wave enemies and like Warrior of Light and I don't know, like Pinello or Lena or something backing him with really strong regens and buffs, he's only going to come out above average with all of those things in mind. I think you could at that point you could throw in literally any other character and they'd probably do a better job.
Even Zell?
Any character within the last 2 months and moving forward. Yeah. And you would, but he does have small niches. He is the only Earth DPS we're going to get for a long time. This fight was particularly skewed against him because he can heal on counters, and that's something, I suppose. And he is the only magic counter character to 8's physical single target has to be targeted. So these are things, but I think like as a slot, I don't think you should go out of your way to pull for the character.
I think that's fair. Gau is a much more conditional character than a lot of the ones we've seen recently, but I would put him on 8 level or a little above 8 in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, let's see what the let's see.
Sorry, I was gonna say that's tough because 8 ignores defense, right? And on his turns, he does pretty good damage, but Gau, he needs a Brave plus, HP plus, or AA to get the stance switch if you need it. So it's like Ignis in the fact that in theory the two stances are good to jump between, but in practice most fights are probably going to favor one over the other heavily.
Yeah. Well, and you can't really jump between them as easy as you can with Iggy, because he can freely jump between his at a moment's notice. Gau cannot do that. So, yeah, looking at the podcast polls, and of course, you can come on to our Discord, join our Discord. You can find that link at tccpodcast.com or in our show notes. And every week we have under our podcast tab podcast polls where you can vote. And thank you, Chris and SQEX, for setting those up for us. Looks like only one person was willing to pity this banner. And 29 spent some tickets on it, and then 28 skipping. Of those who got Gau's EX, which there were not a lot of them, 14 we're going to just keep it EX. Ouch. 7 we're going to keep it. I guess there was quite a few people that got it. 7 we're going to keep it just realized. 1 person was just going to use 2 ingots, and 7 we're going to fully realize it. So a whole bunch of people did end up with it. Free pulls, of course. I saw a lot of free pull Gaus. On the other hand, Terra, actually pretty similar. 23, because obviously the people already have her. 23 people were going to keep it as an EX. 12 we're going to just realize it. And then 12 we're going to do 3 out of 3 full realization. So, yeah, that's the banner. Probably not the best banner to pull on, but interesting kit.
It's great if you're an FF6 fan.
Well, if you love FF6, it's an excellent banner. And as we've been talking, I think the reality, someone was making a comment in chat, if you have to build around a character, they're not good. I don't necessarily agree with that, because
I don't agree with that either. Not at all.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, certainly characters, there are characters who need other people around them to be better, and that's just how they're designed. That's the whole point of certain kits. But the nice thing about this game is we play this game generally because we have an affinity to these other games, Final Fantasy games. And so if you are a huge Final Fantasy VI fan and Gau and Terra are your thing, then you can pull on this banner, get these EXs, and use them in current content, or at least some current content.
Just as quick examples, a lot of meta characters needed support. Ultimecia needed some building around. The 2 tanks, Zack and Warrior of Light, need some int brave buffer in there. Even Emperor needs a boost. You're supposed to build around characters for sure. It's just after you build around them, what are they going to do for you?
There's really only one character, I think, to this point in Japan that really stands on her own, but just does one thing really well, which is solo runs. And you can only bring her to one dimension's end. So, but beyond that, everybody needs some partners, and you do get 3 characters for a reason. This is a team building game in the first place. But yeah, I mean, so there were some really, really. Lightning I wasn't thinking about. There's several that can solo, but there's one character that can solo a lot of content. Yes, it is Cater. She has a bag. Cater has the bag. Unleash the bag. But we'll get to that when she comes back around. That does bring us to the Chaos Battle, where you fought some mini dragons, ancestors, and the Chaos Battle was 1 ancestor dragon, followed by a wave of 2 ancestor dragons, followed by 3 ancestor dragons. So it was a 3-way fight with increasing numbers of dragons. How did you all find this? I know Macno got the call to arms up. So if you want to submit videos, but Mino, did you want to talk about the TCC challenge or any of that stuff as we're talking about this?
After we
Holy crap.
Well, okay, yeah, you want to introduce it first? Okay, so
Yeah,
basically
I'll introduce it. I beat it in under 30 turns, so it was really challenging.
Oh no, I mean wait, did you run it? Okay, so the TCC challenge has come back to the call to arms thread, guys, because I guess lately the community's just been flooded with double RNA runs, and a lot of people are getting really sick of them, especially people who haven't pulled RNA for some reason or another. It's like, guys, look at the Gau strategy thread. There are 250 comments. Why are 200 of them double RNA runs? Like, At what point can you look at a thread and see 200 RNA runs and feel the need to add your own double RNA run? I don't know. But the point is, the community was getting sick of it. And Macnell says it's time to bring back the TCC challenge because we dropped it for a while because Chaos was challenging as it was. And now it's evening out so that we can afford for more fun runs. And for people
I think the real issue is Aarolei.
Well, and appreciate the content, because there's so many people who are saying that Gau and Rinoa Chaos are the first Chaoses they've ever completed, but they completed with double RNA, and they said dead game. Like Chaos is a joke now. Can we get Lufania already? Because Chaos, like no appreciation for the game, and it's really sad. And people don't want to see like 200 entries to call to arms. Macnell says he's literally running out of space on the dock because everyone's submitting RNA runs. So we decided to start bringing it back. And for this one, we said no synergy characters, no RNA in party or RNA friend. And we still got a ton of entries. So Macnell's like, okay, going forward, we need to make it even tougher. But on that note, I've already been starting to run all the content without RNA friend or main party just to experience it as it was supposed to be. Gau was really tough for me. A lot of JP players said it was really tough, but according to Call to Arms, this had a lot of solutions. And so Mark already introduced it's 3 waves, 1 ancestor, 2 ancestor, 3 ancestors. Their big gimmick is they're spamming their Brave plus HP. So you're constantly getting AoE attacked. Whenever they do that, they cleanse themselves as well. So sticking debuffs like imperils or traps is a really tough thing to do. And then I didn't research the pattern enough, but I believe at one point some of them throw like an ability silence on you, right? Like a 1-turn ability silence called Fog.
Yes, that's called Fog. Yep.
Yeah, that Square Enix had the foresight to make them immune to, so that you don't throw it back with Yuffie, which I thought was pretty nice. And so, I mean, I had researched this fight well in advance because I've heard horror stories about it. So I ran it with a pretty meta team of Warrior of Light, Ultimecia, and Rosa, I think, which was not the right choice. Apparently, Ishtola was the far better support than Rosa here. Yep. And I had to do a couple of resets because if they got too many back-to-back turns in the final wave, they were killing somebody for sure. But I only had to restart 3 or 4 times. Basic strategies. I was like, oh, this is pretty tough. Without RNA to mindlessly spam skills, I actually had to plan around. And I was like, let's see how everyone else does. And then, wow, the call to arms blew up. But before I talk about the more unusual teams, Mark, did you do a TCC challenge run?
I did not. I used Aarolei and Irvine. So
okay, skip. Crease, did you do a TCC challenge run?
I did not use RNA, but I did use Gau because I'm going to use Gau. I pulled for him.
That's fair. Yeah.
I had a boosted character in my team, but the characters backing him up were Barret and Warrior of Light. Turned out Barret was not the greatest option because this is the first fight I've brought Barret to where he suffered a huge blow to his brave damage potential as the enemies buffed up. I actually complained about that in one of our private channels on the Discord server. That Barret was like hitting for less than 4 digits of brave hits per satellite hit. So if I did not get the complete that time, I would have had to swap them out for someone better, probably a Bartz or something.
Well,
And finally, as I
speaking
was asking, I did 3/3 Gau.
speaking of that team comp, Crease, Cyrus Defo, I know submitted a call to arms with Warrior of Light, Barrett, and Irvine, so was able to beat it with that team. I forget what friend unit. It wasn't Aarolei, but it was some other friend unit. But anyway, yeah,
boss defense spikes like crazy in this fight. Like, that's why at the end I had to rely on battering Ultimacia and her regen to get through the defense. Everyone else was hitting for ones, and I'm saying, like, this is another unique thing that people who brought Aarolei wouldn't have seen, because I tried another run with Aarolei and she was still hitting 9999 when everyone else was literally hitting 1 damage. Like, and then people in the Discord are saying, like, even if you don't want to bring Aarolei in your party and you bring her as a friend, she shaves off about 15 turns. So, like, it was so, I don't know, that's just how ridiculous it is. But Aero, I know you did a unique team, right?
Yeah, I kind of like you. I want to do the runs first without Aarolei at all, just to experience it as, like, you know, the JP players experienced it and really understand the power that the bosses have. So I wound up running it in the end with Celeste, Vanille, and Horum with a Setzer friend. So pretty defensive based team, you know, with a very strong defense down debuffer and attack down debuffer, even though, like, the buffs would go away, the debuffs would go away because of the whole fog breath thing that they did, the breath attack's called. It didn't matter because I would just put debuffs back on somehow, some way anyway. And Setzer with his turn delay and battery just helped me to get through the fight in like 79 out of 85 turns. So not too bad. But I hated the fight until I figured out, like, what you have to mitigate those HP attacks, or have some amazing heals or something, because it's crazy otherwise.
Yeah, I think this was a really tough fight. Apparently Strafe didn't think it was tough at all. You know, he can go to hell. But based on the call to arms, there were teams with no tanks that I was really impressed with. Porum really was a strong candidate here. Ishtola was super strong, of course. They're weak to earth, and the delays really help.
Jin did Rinoa Emperor Y'shtola on that.
Yeah,
so.
A lot of people made Emperor work. I'm pretty sure there was some Golbez runs in there too. Bosch in there. So there was a lot of creativity. There's a lot of creativity.
We got to note one guy we haven't mentioned, Leon. Yeah, that guy made the fight too. I couldn't get the damage for it, so I didn't do it, but I wanted to. I just needed new magic attackers, and having only like Vanille or Vaughn for good options, because let's just ignore the fact Yuna is in this game right now because she's crap. But I don't even count her in my roster for magic attacks because her damage becomes garbage at the end of a chaos fight. And I tried with Cryle, but with them removing the thunder resist down buff all the time, she just became crap near the end of the fight for me too.
There was somebody, I need to find the name,
but somebody did no realized characters. Leon, Lena.
There it is. Leon, Lena, Charlotta did this, so that was really, really impressive.
That is impressive.
Yeah, those 3 characters are on a whole nother level, man, before realization. And then it's not like they change much, even like once they get it. I think like the only one most people didn't bother with was maybe Charlotta, but those other 2 are pretty hype. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, anything else on this chaos event that you want to cover before we move on?
I think the big takeaway is that it's a lot harder if you do not have Aarolei either as a friend unit or in your main team.
Yeah, this is the
honest.
No, go ahead, Mino.
Oh, I was gonna say, honestly, I was gonna push that covering events and even characters moving forward, we should basically ignore the existence of Aarolei. I mean, we can acknowledge her, but not stack other characters up or include her in the event strategies, because basically it's just going to be instant win.
Yeah, Well, we'll see how long it lasts. But this is the unfortunate time. It happened, of course, last year after the last anniversary, where if you start in March and you didn't get RNA, yeah, you might need to hear options that are not RNA related. Like, oh, I beat it with
same
RNA.
thing last year with Beatrix. Beatrix
yep.
trivialized a lot of fights for about, 3 months, somewhere in that window.
Yeah.
It was around Fang EX or Deuce EX where she no longer just won the fight for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good good content creation panel. So you didn't get RNA. How can you complete content?
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, we'll revise and work on the TCC challenge and the call to arms just to help alleviate that and to make sure that there are some non-RNA runs out there so people can do that. So, hey, let's move from that event to our current event that just launched about an hour ago, the Awakening Wave 8 with Heretic Quest, which we'll cover next week. But that did bring us two new EX realizations and a significant rework on two banners. And again, if you want to check out my Should You Pull video, that is on YouTube, and it's under 4 minutes, actually, so you can check that out very quickly. But our guest, Aarolei, is going to talk about this banner that she was particularly hyped about with Onion Knight's level 70 EX realization and Yuri's level 70 rework and EX realization. So, Aero, why don't you bring us through each of those characters?
So first of all, yeah, I totally pulled for both of these guys. Well, for Yuri specific. But 1 second.
Aero, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Okay, so the main thing I want to bring up is how much Onion Knight has gotten out of his EX Plus. I really love it so far after playing. Okay, so I'm having some difficulties with my notes right now, so give me just a moment. Why don't you guys talk about some of this, how you feel about the banner?
Yeah,
how do you feel about getting that EX on the...
Yeah, so I pulled, as we started on stream, you can see my polls on the video on demand, and I'll, it won't be on YouTube, but it will be on the Twitch video on demand. Yeah, maybe I'll clip it and throw it on YouTube too. So yeah, I pulled on both of my free polls. As I said, I was not putting anything in this. I already have Onion Knight, so I was not pulling, and I'm not a huge fan of Yuri, which we'll get to in a second. But I got 10 total 5 stars. Wow.
Sorry.
What the
Edit
hell?
that out, please, Pierre. I can't believe. I don't know why I pressed the push to talk button. It must have been an accident, right when I. That was. Edit that out. Mark.
I'm not going to edit that out.
Pierre.
I'm not going to edit that out at all. Okay. This is going great. Anyway, I got 10 gold weapons on my 2 free pulls, which is amazing for me. I never get more than 1. And I did get Yuri's EX. So there it is. So yeah. That's about the luckiest I've been.
I mixed gems and tickets. Fuck Inkwell I don't care anymore. I did the free pull. Then I did tickets to see if I would get lucky. And if I didn't, I would have pulled gems. So I don't see anything wrong with that strategy. I don't think mixing is the end of the world. But I ended up with Onion Knight off of tickets, I guess. I struggled so hard whether I wanted to go in gems or tickets in this banner. And we're going to talk about that once Aero gets her notes up. How you doing over there, Aero?
I finally got them up, but I was going to let you guys finish your conversation first because I find that very important to let those thoughts flow. But anyway, I'm going to start with Onion Knight because he's the guy who already got the rework right before Cosmos era landed, I believe, and with those other characters like Cloud and Furion and Ishtola, and I think at the time the rework was pretty cool, but I understand why a lot of people didn't really use Onion in Cosmos era. He wasn't really doing anything special over like any other characters that were like him at the time. And there's big bad boy Sephiroth. I think he had just came out too with his EX. So I mean, like, you had a bunch of people who didn't pull on it on its initial release, and if they probably pulled on Y'shtola, they really just wanted to get Y'shtola and get the fuck out of that banner. So, but I liked the rework at the time. It was kind of cool. It gave like a lot more versatility to Onion Knight with that 40% attack aura. I never forget about that. That made him pretty cool in Cosmos. If nothing else, that was like really awesome when he had max stacks. Let me see what else I got here in my notes now, and I will get more into it about this character in a second.
Yeah, I used Onion Knight all through Cosmos era. I've liked him since early on, and I did like him when he got his EX and have continued to use him, so I was looking forward to realizing his EX, but please continue.
Yes, of course. Now, everybody kind of knows about the rework, so we're just really going to go more into like the level 70 upgrades and the Bloom and the EX Plus. So first off, his level 65, when you crystal level into 65, he has this really cool activated ability with enchanting the party with ice for 3 turns, 1 use base use. Then when you get to level 68 on that crystal level passive, you get to raise your party max brave and attack by 10%, which is very nice. And with that level 70 upgrade, you of course then get an upgrade to your AA ability, which now will also, when using your Blizzard Enchant skill, will raise your party attack. Yes. And when you bloom him, which I highly recommend if you're going to use him, it will grant an additional use of the skill and turn the buff into a 5-turn buff from a 3-turn buff. So you can basically give him 10 turns of his AA, which I like this AA because we have a lot of turn stealers and they love running their buffs down.
Yes.
But hey, you've got Onion Knight's AA activated. Take all the turns you want, and if that ice resist down, we'll get into that with the EX Plus, is up on the bosses, you're just doing tons and tons of damage till all your other buffs fall off. But hey, until then, you can go as ham as you want.
It's going to be especially helpful on Dimensions End Entropy, the middle wave of that fight.
Right. And yeah, I mean, we know about the next Dimensions and, tier is going to be very much an annoying one with those behemoths, but we will probably be talking about that another week. So I want to mention that I really like the EX Plus after playing with it just a little bit so far. I feel like it better showcases like his 2 stances, like the ninja and the sage, which, as we all know, his EX is pretty cool because it's basically 2 in 1. You get to pick which side you want to use when you use it. So if you're in the ninja stance, you get 1, you get Blade Torrent. If you're in the sage stance, you get Meteorite. So this is pretty loaded EX, so let's get into it. So like you just decide to book this bad boy. You get, when using Meteorite or Blade Torrent, you get to raise the Brave potency a whole bunch, and Meteorite becomes a 100% AoE HP attack. And of course, both skills will now inflict ice resistance down to all targets and grant the new buff to Onion Knight called Forbidden Lands Power for 4 turns. Now, this new fancy buff will grant yourself Ice Enchant to Onion Knight, and it will raise the party max brave overflow limit. Nice. You raise it again, you decide to EX plus him to 1. You raise Onion Knight's max brave and attack. You decide you want to go 2-3. You will start the battle already with the Forbidden Lands Power for 6 turns. You will fill your EX gauge already to 70%, and the first skill you decide to use will be free and with 0 action delay. Now, what that means is you're going to go into the fight. You pick which stance you want. You want Sage or Ninja, and immediately after, follow up with the AoE Meteorite or the single target heavy Blade Torrent.
Yeah, that is.
And the other thing is when he uses that first turn, it does not use a turn. It
Correct.
does not use a turn. And only will decrease if you're using him as like a friend unit or whatever. And when you're using Blade Torrent at 3/3, you decide to go all in, no fear. You will increase your brave damage dealt and increase overflow for Blade Torrent. And when using Meteorite, you will increase your brave potency and also allow even more overflow damage. Hold on a second. I know he also is supposed to get an HP plus at 3/3. Let me read off what those are supposed to do for you as well.
Yep.
While in ninja stance, you will grant yourself an HP attack that is a 3-hit brave melee attack, an HP attack, and it has overflow. It has pretty low action delay. And then if you're in sage stance, your AO you get a HP attack. It does like an AOE ice brave shave, just one single hit, I believe, with a single target HP attack. It has overflow. It also will deal a 20% HP damage splash attack to the non-targets. Now, my final conclusion, I think he's a pretty big sleeper hit of a character. He's coming to his own now more as a fighter. He's a heavy damage dealer who, when maxed up on levels and EX, you max up all his weapons, everything else, he gives his own party a 50% attack aura and a 10% max brave. He has increased party overflow, and they can enjoy his ice and peril with his ice enchant at C65 if you're using that AA. If you're looking for somebody who you want as a flexible damage dealer who can change stances depending on battle conditions, then Onion Knight is definitely the guy to pick up right now.
Yeah, I like his kit. I like the fact that it's a true mix kit, and you can kind of go back and forth. The one thing it's really nice in is fights where you have a AoE wave and then you have a single target wave, and we've had a few of those fights. Well, I mean, the lizards is a good example. You have one enemy, then you have two enemies, then you have three enemies. There are other dimensions end fights that kind of go back and forth between a big wave and a small wave, and this allows him to kind of do that single target damage and also do that AoE damage, which I think is kind of unique among a lot of different kits. So, and he has great animations. I love his animations quite a bit. Mino, Kreese, anything to say? Sorry, Aero, on Onion Knight?
I like Onion Knight's flexibility as both an AoE damage dealer and a single target damage dealer, depending on what the situation calls for. The fact he can switch between them pretty freely, the fact that he can burst when he needs to or just sustain decent damage. His HP pluses are pretty decent now, from my experience. I've experimented with them a little bit, and they seem to deal good damage in the right circumstances. Just in general, Onion Knight's always been an okay character. His rework made him solid with that party attack aura. He just came at the wrong time, I think. And him now getting his EX Plus shores up a lot of his issues. He still is not perfect by any means. He works best in a situation where he is providing that enchant imperil bonus, I think, to allies who are also able to deal damage. But he does work on his own. He's not so tied to working in specific stances. I think he can work in a lot of different types of parties.
Yeah, I was going to say Final 1414 was saying that I don't like that his party enchant is limited to his C65 as AA, which only gives him 10 turns of party enchant. If his party enchant, Ice, was tied to his EX, he would basically... why would you pull for Lulu at that point? Like, that is the one thing Lulu will do right now that makes her better than all the other enchanters until we get actually better enchanters. So, I mean, this just gives him that nice little stint of utility that will make everybody do a big burst of damage when you need it. But, yeah, he's
I'll
much
also
more
point
versatile
out
than
that pairing Onion Knight with a Shiva summon just gives you multiple more turns to take advantage of that ice resist down. So keep that in mind. He'll work great with Shiva summon.
I don't think there's anything wrong with AA enchant. As Kreese already, or as Aero already said, it's based on the enchanter's turns, not the party turns.
True.
So that's a big benefit over other natural enchanters. You can activate it whenever you want on a free turn instead of burning a turn for it. There's a lot of advantages to it, and I don't see anything wrong with AA enchant. But wow, man, I like his kit a lot. If anything, his kit is an example why so many other kits suck. I mean, we were just talking about Gau. You want to talk about characters that jump between stances? How come there are so many characters who are locked so hard to their shitty double stances when Onion Knight can switch not only on a whim, But once he switches, he does a big Brave plus HP attack and gets the buffs before his attacks. Like, what is up with that? Why are some characters so much better than others with the exact same concept? I really love what they did with Onion Knight because he has always been meant to be the perfect all-arounder in the original Dissidia games. You switch stances depending on if you want speed, if you want range, or whatever. And the point is, he was very flexible and can adapt to any situation. He always had shades of that. I think it was realized really badly when he was created. And then on his rework, it was pretty decent. But you guys were all praising his old rework. I did not like how he had to lean so heavily on Brave Pluses. They were amazing Brave Pluses, but I thought his kit was fun at first when he was Synergy. Then when it was out of Synergy, I didn't have as much fun wasting turns on Brave Pluses. Now he's an all-arounder who is very above average at so many things. Like we talk about so many all-arounders who are just no specialty, like Kimari or whatever, who just do everything really half-assed. Onion Knight does everything really well. He's a party enchanter, one of a very select few. It's important that he's ice, imperil, and enchant because we did some digging as well. The other party enchanters coming up in the next month and a half, you've got Lulu and you've got Pestle. Holy and Fire are two of the most absorbed and resisted elements in the game.
Yeah.
Period. Ice is one of the rarest, if not the rarest element to ever be absorbed or resisted. It's shown its work that throughout like the history of the next few months in JP, Onion Knight is the most consistent party enchanter imperiler because there's a lot of fire there to stop Lulu. There's a lot of holy there to stop Pestle. There is not a lot of ice to stop Onion Knight. He is the primary ice DPS for the longest time in this game until like 8 months from now, where we got that Type 0 teacher.
Hey, our next new character is ice DPS, isn't he? All right, we'll talk about that
later. I think I said I'm pretty sure I covered my ass and said Onion Knight's the best ice DPS we're gonna have for a long time. He's the primary ice DPS. He has a pretty good aura. 50% attack aura to the party is it's damn well above average for support, and for a DPS focus for him, it is damn good. His DPS is damn good for a hybrid character. If you want to run speed, his speed is damn good for that. And if you want to just slow down and take more advantage of his enchants, you can switch to Sage mode. And his single target is above average. His AoE is above average. Everything he does is just very above average. That being said, he is not a carry. He is not a star party member, but he is a perfect slot for slot 3 if you're just looking for anything. Aura, single target, AoE, enchants, he can do everything. So I think he fits very, very well, but not a hard carry. I mean, I've been trying to hold back on the ratings, but I'm not saying he's a strong character. I think he's a very viable character. And like I said, I really believe that if you want to go into the enchant imperil strategy of building teams, I think he's the best one.
Yeah, and we're going to get a handful of enchanters, imperilers here in, like you just said, Onion Knight and Lulu and Paladin Cecil, and then we're going to be several months until we get, I think, Garnet and Rydia and does Fujin imperils? Does she enchant?
Yeah, Fujin and Raijin.
She can't win right now.
Both of them, yeah. Fujin and Raijin.
And Raijin, yeah. So, and they're all lumped real close together too. So, there are short bursts of imperil enchant viability. I'm certainly not going to call it. I'm not going to call it.
Yeah, it's a strategy. It's a strategy.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a quick question. Does this AA stack with other people who will ice enchant themselves? Because I mean, that is a thing later too. So does it?
Yeah, enchant
Okay,
stack.
so there you go.
We've tested
So,
this.
I mean, if you're
Only
playing-
if the base
Enchant
ability
stack.
is that element 2, it has
Yeah.
to. I think
Yeah.
if it is generic, it
No,
doesn't stack.
we did further research. Even if it's
Okay.
generic, it stacks. It's just the first enchant doesn't count, right? Because it's imbuing the element, and then further enchants add the 20%
Okay,
bonus.
so if you are planning for other ice users, which there are some pretty good ones, they will pair very well with Onion Knight.
Right.
I mean, some of them come so far, it might not matter by then. But, when you're just playing for fun, it can be really fun, nice to have. And, Onion is a main character, so he will always probably be at least pretty decent with upgrades coming in.
Papillamo has already been announced, right? Isn't he on the next rework wave?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yep, so he does ice damage, and I mean, you could go crazy and do Lulu, Papillamo, Onion Knight. That might be an interesting team. Actually, I've seen that team comp before.
Yeah. And again,
I think someone
necessarily
did
need a
that
full
for
ice
Entropy
team.
8. No, right.
yeah, just bring neutral characters with Shiva summon, and you'll get a 20% bonus
Yeah, exactly.
damage.
But yeah, then you have definitely Snow, right? Does ice damage on one of his attacks, and he's a pretty viable tank once he gets his rework. And Cater,
He's still a little ways out, though.
Cater does ice damage, but she's not viable with anyone, so she's terrible with other people. She's just a solo character. All right, well, yeah, Onion Knight's fun. And look forward to using him. That does bring us to the character that has a little bit more of the meat on the banner in terms of the stuff that he got, and that is Yuri. So, Aero, if you want to bring us through Yuri, I'm leveling him up as we speak.
I'm going to make my 12 multis for him. Well, 12 total multis, 11 I had to pay off, so he's gonna be paying in blood for a little while, like Onion Knight. Anyway, so as we all know, Yuri got a rework, and but before this rework, he was kind of a huge meme. Like, people used to make fun of this guy, and I mean, like, they would talk about how, like, he can't win in fights, and he just doesn't do enough damage, all this other stuff. He was kind of like in a bad spot. He came out in chapter 11. Back right when we first got level 60, and he's this level 50 character, and he was deemed the worst character out of those last couple of level 50 characters to come out, and he just didn't shine at all to most people. I built him back then. I enjoyed him. He helped me. He was a big part of why I wanted to make videos, even along with Bart. So I like him a lot. But before we go more into his rework, he's also another mixed damage type kit, just like Onion Knight. But this time it's a little different. He uses range attacks and holy magic damage, also incorporating gravity-based shave power with his crystal power skill. Now, he got an okay C60, I feel like, once he got Crystal 60 access, but he was really hurting because he had no hits really on both of his skills, despite having this really high attack stat. It was crazy. So, like, one skill was one hit before, and it did split damage to all targets, and then the other one had this HP conditional nonsense, and it was 2 hits on one target. It was horrible. But the rework, even though it was minor, those minor things made a huge difference here, and I'm going to bring up what those are in just a moment. So Crystal Power basically now does a bunch more hits. It's like 4 hits now instead of just the 1. And it still does all that gravity, brave shaving by 50% if you have his weapon passive. And he does that before even letting the brave hits go off. So it still does the split damage to all targets, but now it's like, oh, you're always going to be breaking targets when you decide to use this skill. Now, that's great and all. Let's go into skill 2. Skill 2 now does 5 hits. It does it to a single target still, and it extends his current buffs by 2 turns. Now, he also has a way to give himself the holy enchant element when using Chelinka's prayer now. So on top of this, they also removed the stupid conditional, and he will always do the HP attack. Now, if you decide not to build his EX Plus all the way, you don't go to like 2 out of 3, I want to warn you, when you first use Chelinka's prayer, If he does not have the buff up yet, he will drop his Brave to 0 before unleashing the attack. But generally speaking, you should be able to maintain the buff after that. You should not be letting it fall off, so that shouldn't be an issue after the first use if you are not maxing the EX. Before we go into the EX, though, let's talk about the level 70 bonuses he's got. So his Crystal level 65 passive, it's going to just, it's a very simple skill. It increases his Brave and Max Brave for 2 turns. It's 1 use at base use. His Crystal level passive 68 raises his own Brave and Max Brave by, I think, 20%. And then the Crystal level 70 improves the Brave and M-Brave effects granted by his AA ability. And when you bloom this sucker, you get the following bonuses. Additional use, of course, +1. And the buff duration is increased by 2, becoming a 4-turn AA buff. I like the AA because he has super powerful regen. And it's very easy to stack it because he has a framed buff with Chelinka's Prayer. So this means you can stack him with something like Pinello, who's coming out this month. By the way, pull for Pinello if you're pulling for Yuri. And
What did you just say?
pull for Pinello if you're pulling for Yuri.
Oh, okay.
Just
You-
pull
you
for
might as well,
Pinello
because-
anyway.
I thought you said
Just
why
regardless.
pull for Pinello if you're pulling
Yeah.
for Yuri.
No way,
I
no way.
was
Those
about
two need to go.
I was
like
about
peanut butter
to
and jelly.
throw hands.
So the cool thing is, because his region's so good, if you use the AA, you're probably going to near cap his huge max brave stat. And so if you go into another skill or decide to HP attack or whatever it is you decide to do afterwards, you know, you're gonna hit for the big boy damage. So I like it a lot. It's simple, elegant. The rework's simple and elegant, but the EX more than makes up for everything here, because they decided to go all in. It's like they were like, we're done making this guy a joke. He is no longer a joke with this EX, because when he has it just basic EX, he will set all the brave of non-broken enemies to 0, dish out those 5 brave hits before an HP attack, does 100% AoE damage, and grants brave to the party based on the damage dealt. And also, just to top it all off, we got to have that holy resistance down to all enemies and recover 1 use of both skills after using the ability.
Yeah, he does have a lot of skills, doesn't he? With that
Yeah,
EX.
and then like let's not even, we haven't even touched on the super cool, special, unique buff that he gets over his head called Crystal Power 2 halves. I looked it up right before doing this review to see what it was actually called on our version. Now, you cannot extend this buff in any way, but what it does do is it will raise your party attack, it will increase your party max brave overflow limit, raises the party member's brave based on max brave at the start of the party member's turn, and of course has to grant HP regen. So this is a pretty loaded EX, and they decided to even like go a little bit further with the EX Plus. So if you decide to book this bad boy, you're going to get this. You're going to raise your brave potency, you're going to increase the overflow of the skill, and you are also going to get your HP plus attack while Chelinka's Prayer is active. HP attack is a 2-hit brave hit plus HP attack that has some overflow on it. Now, we don't get a lot of characters lately who at 0-3 get their special HP plus if they get their HP plus off their EX. So this makes him pretty cool for that. So you could just book him and probably be ready to go. But if you decide to keep going, you can then put in 1 ingot to raise his max brave and attack. If you decide to put in 2 ingots, you'll just start off right away with Chelinka's Prayer and his special max brave, his large max brave up generic buff for 6 turns. And 3-3. He will raise the attack damage, brave potency, and max brave overflow of his. That's pretty much it. I mean, he's honestly, if you get this EX and you need a budget character for Dimensions End, honestly, you might as well book him at the very least. And he probably even deserves 1 ingot similar to Lilithset for a tower. But I mean, if you want to use him a lot, like I'm going to, for as long as I can, you're going to want to max this guy so you can make him do all the damage he's able to do, because his attack stat, I'm not kidding, it's really high, and his max brave is very high. So you can amplify him a lot, especially since he now does 4 hits to all his targets with skill 1. You can get some pretty crazy consistent damage, and the skill recovery just lets him go spamming skills pretty much his whole fight. As long as you can beat it under like 100 turns, you can probably spam skills without even using the HP plus or Brave plus. But if you need to use them, they're pretty strong Brave pluses and HP pluses on top of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Crease. Let's hand it to Crease. Who's gonna be harsher, Mark? You or me?
I don't know.
Harsher person should go last.
I don't know.
Are you? Do you have a lot of hate in you
I'm
for
not.
Yuri? I don't know.
I'm
Crease,
so conflicted. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on Yuri, Crease?
Yuri seems wicked strong right now. As we've been talking, clearing out Heretic quests with Yuri, Onion Knight, and Ash. Obviously, I don't have Yuri's EX, so it's just his MLB 15 and 35 CP weapons through the Heretic fights, and he's doing a lot of damage despite the fact he doesn't have that loaded EX weapon. So he is pretty strong with all those extra brave hits. I mean, his power was never an issue, was the fact that he did no brave hits on anything he did. So this rework fixes that issue. I mean, the big issue I see with Yuri is that he has a slow as molasses EX ability. It's not even on Y'shtola levels. It's worse than Y'shtola levels now because Y'shtola got a recast increased speed on EX plus. So it is Dark Knight Cecil recharge rates and Sync recharge rates. That's the biggest issue. Yuri cannot maintain Crystal User 2 Hab, definitely. He has to let it fall off. So all those amazing party stats he gives, there's going to be periods of time where they will not be available. That said, while they're available, he's basically a monster. No character provides this much benefit. This much party healing, this much party regen, and attack and overflow all in one thing. And the fact that he recharges ability uses means he can spam a lot more freely than other characters who would not be able to get the ability recharges. So I think overall he's solid. I don't think he's like going to break the game open, but he is an amazing character from what I've seen so far.
All right, we flipped a coin. Mark's going second.
Okay,
I'll go first. Mm-hmm. All right, we're about to make a lot of enemies out here. we looked at every should you poll from every other content creator and all this talk in Reddit and Discord. Everyone's praising Yuri, to hell and back. And Mark and I think he's trash. So let's get into this. Yuri by himself at this point in time is an amazing character, just like Onion Knight. He is a jack of all trades who is good at everything he does, well above average. In fact, I think this banner is perfect for new players. You're picking up 2 EX pluses who can fill almost any role adequately, and and then you just slot in whoever you get as you go along, and it'll be fine. What Yuri has that Onion Knight doesn't is healing capability, battery capability, gravity, great amounts of gravity, and a huge amount of longevity because of the skill recharges on his EX. He has those really good things going for him. What he doesn't have of Onion Knight's niches are the party enchant, which is a big deal, I think. The more desirable element of ice, which I think is a big deal, because as we said, Holy is going to be resisted a lot. Not only just going forward in the near future, but just in the history of DFFOO, Holy is one of the most absorbed elements in Chaos there is. He has a lot of little other problems too. But let's touch base on this. The problem with Yuri is that within the month, not even like 4 weeks, within 2 to 3 weeks, there are characters that outshine him so hard and are top of the meta for any reason you would want to bring him. For example, first let's talk about Holy DPS. Holy DPS is a big deal. In a month and a half, exactly, no, not even a month and a half, less, exactly when Chapter 8, that's the next one, right? When Chapter 8 comes out with General Leo. The event right before that and moving forward is 6 consecutive weeks of Holy Absorb. And I don't remember, I think Arrow touched on this, right? That if you're going up against any Holy Resistor Absorb, Yuri is shut down hard. He is so reliant on his element. Arrow, would you agree to that?
Yeah, I think it's weird they gave him the holy thing because before he didn't have the enchant. That's totally new stuff here.
Right, exactly. And I'm saying, like, any JP player will tell you, they must have realized how good Yuri is. Yuri for this month is going to be amazing. And then I think they realized how bad they screwed up because for 6+ weeks, Holy Absorb on everything. They do not want you bringing Yuri. Okay. And then even if we're talking about Holy DPS, in a pure DPS standpoint, Pestle, who's coming soonish on the VIII LC, is a better single target holy damage. I will give that Yuri's AoE is better.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. But Pestle's single target is better, and he brings party enchant too, which is going to be a very valuable thing too.
And he keeps the Imperil up longer.
Yes.
More
right. Yuri's his buffs are not 100% uptime, and his imperils are not 100% uptime. So it's like a tempo character, as Kreese likes to say, where he has his big burst moments, and then he has some a turn or two of recharge before he can go again. So he's not 100% consistent, whereas Pestle is, and party enchant and bigger pure holy damage. And Yuri has amazing gravity, but Pinello coming in 2 weeks is going to have even better gravity and true damage and better regens. We talk about Yuri's regens. Tonberry Troop, their infographic said, right now, Yuri has the strongest HP regen in the game, 30% for 30% max HP for 3 turns. And then Pinello comes out less than 2 weeks later. Oh, here's 40% for much longer, 100% uptime, and here's 120% eye brave regen while you're at it. Oh, and here's reduce enemy brave to 0 while you're at it, and then do true damage. Like, oof, Pinello is just any reason you would want to pull Yuri, Pinello just completely stomps on as well. And the sad thing is she is so close. She is so close. So, I mean, the only benefit I can see of pulling Yuri is I personally believe you can always use more healers. I think healers are a great commodity.
Yeah.
But in terms of he is a very middle of the road jack of all trades. You're going to be fooled right now because of synergy bias, because right now he is one of the strongest things you'll see. It's just that the power creep, thanks to GL Foresight, is so massive in the next few weeks that it just completely dwarfs what he does. So I think if you pull him, you'll have an amazing time for a month. And for a lot of people, that's enough. Like, if you want a month of just stomping on things, Yuri is your guy. But then again, RNA exists as well. So Yuri's not even the best at stomping on everybody. So he's a victim of circumstance, that he comes at such a shitty time that he's going to be directly power creeped by so many people. But Mark, take it home.
Yeah, my issue here is, of course, not like you said, if you're a brand new player, if you just started today, this banner, the Yuri Onion Knight Ash banner, is a better banner to pull on than the Cloud Lightning Squall banner that you get to start with, because they've all kind of had their heyday at the moment. They'll come back around, but it's not going to be for a while. So this is a nice starting banner. Yuri does the AoE damage. Onion Knight can split between melee and magic. They can both imperil and enchant themselves, so they're going to be able to help with a lot of other content. That being said, we just came off of a month. I'm looking back at the last 2 months. I was willing to pity 5 banners for the first part of this year. And I did. I spent gems on 5 banners in the last 2 months. Belthier, who's a favorite. Rosa, who's definitely meta. Emperor, who's definitely meta. Zach, who's definitely meta. Arnea, who's definitely meta. Not to mention all of those other characters that I have been able to, realize. So, I mean, if you've been playing this game for a month or 2 months, and you're still pulling, why is my question. Yeah, if Yuri's a favorite, but seriously, how many people is Yuri a favorite for? That's going to be my big thing here in a couple of weeks when we do with another character. Like, if that guy's your favorite character, you are a very small minority of people. So and there's some Yuri fans out there, sure, but there's not a lot. So obviously, if he's a favorite character, pull. That's part of the game. You pull for your favorites. If you just really like the kit, if you like Shakira or whatever her name is there on the screen with you, great. But other than that, yeah, what's he bringing to you right now that these big AOE? I mean, just Aarolei is big AOE, Rinoa is big AOE, Golbez is big AOE, Emperor's big AOE. Ultimisha's big AOE. I mean, we have all these big AOE characters who are just coming off of the heels on. And so I guess my question is, just from a person who's just so meticulous about planning, realizing that, okay, people are hyping Yuri, and then people are going to hype Lulu for some reason, and who knows, people might hype the other guy because he does all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And then people are going to hype that Edge Pinello banner, and then there's probably going to be people hyping the Twins banner. I don't know anybody's going to be hyping Kyran, but then we're going to get VIII and Pestle is a great banner if you don't have those characters, and we're probably going to see Selfie out there, and then Leo's coming, and then X-Death, and then Lightning Hope Shad. I mean, it's just that's going to be the next few months, right? Where just every single character is going to be hyped, and so at some point you just have to say no, right? And Yuri can't be everybody's favorite. He is not doing anything more than a lot of other characters are doing right now. So, if you don't need him, don't pull on him. If you got him, great. Like I did, use him. If you like his kit, great, use him. But yeah, I mean, it just bugs the hell out of me that everybody is just, and that's just, I just remember this era back in the Japanese version of the game because I always keep out kind of what they're hyping. And it was just like one character after another, and then it like build up this Imperil meta that never really existed just for like these 3 weeks here and 3 weeks there. So I don't know. There's nothing wrong with Yuri. He's fine. He's not perfect. He's not a broken win button. He's certainly not better than Aarolei. I can't imagine that anybody could make that argument. So if you have him, if you have Aarolei, and you have other characters who are doing good things, great. I said if you don't have either of these characters and you're planning to skip Lulu, this is a decent banner to pull on, basically, so you can do Dimensions and Entropy Tier 8, but you're probably not going to get much more out of it than that. Lulu's the exact same thing. If you're going to pull on Lulu, you're going to bring her to Dimensions and Entropy Tier 8, and that's just about it. She's not going to do much else for you. So, I mean, if that's important to you, then great, yeah. That's how you do it. But
a couple of defenses for Yuri. He is going to be the last gravity shaver we get for a little while. X-Death is the next gravity shaver.
Yeah.
I mean, Pinello can do it. She can't do it as on demand, as Arrow was saying in chat. He is also a high throughput of damage while he's doing that, along with providing his allies some utility. And I will also say that as a closing statement for me, as far as Yuri goes, he's probably a much better investment than Gau.
Yeah, that's I'll agree with you there. He's not a bad investment at all. No,
I know. I feel like we have to address this just because we're just saying he's not perfect. That's the only thing we're saying. There's a lot of people in chat taking this personally, as if we just like stabbed their family member or something. We're just saying he's a great character. We're just saying from a purely meta perspective for a lot of people who need to watch their ingots or have no idea what's coming up, and this is a very real problem. I know we have a lot of like really veteran meta players who study and do foresight and have like 10 books or something, but it's a very real problem if you look on like main court or the subreddit where people say they only have 1 or 2 books left, or like like anywhere from 3 to 7 ingots left. And they're like, okay, I can only invest in 2 characters this month. Yuri is not the meta character of this month. We all know Penelo Edge is of the both of those are very strong contenders compared to this banner. Or it's like, if we're saying, if you stop and think, why do you want Yuri? For what function is he filling in your roster? Can somebody else coming this month fill that function better? That is all we're pointing out. Pull Yuri if you like. You don't have to agree with everything we say. Like, it's like, be your own person, as Mark went on that huge rant last week. Think for yourself. But, like, just because somebody has a different opinion than yours, you're going to throw a fit? Like, it's just matter of fact. It's like when we said the exact same thing about Onion Knight, nobody complained. We said Onion Knight does a lot of things great. He doesn't do anything the best. That's what we said about Yuri. He does a lot of things great. He doesn't do any one thing the best.
Oh, well, this, I don't know. This event does come with Heretics, so we will talk about those in greater detail when we know about that. But let us go to the podcast polls to see what other people are saying. We had 7 people willing to pity this. 6 people willing to pity this, 3 using gems, 37 using tickets, good call, and 6 skipping. Of course, use your free poll. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, on the other one, yeah, lots of skips. 2 people using tickets and 2 people using gems on the Kefka Prish. I will say this, and I said this in the Should You Pull video. I don't see any reason to pull on this Prish Kefka Raging banner, and that may seem self-explanatory, but the defense with that would be, well, I like Kefka, I like Prish, I like Raging, I guess. But, so I want to play with them now. They're not really useful. Prish is not useful at all. Kefka, you're going to get some use out of. Raging, you're not going to get any use out of. Each of them come back this summer on an excellent banner. Kefka comes back with Cloud of Darkness, who's a powerful character. Prish comes back with Arciella, who's a powerful character. Raging comes back with God Emperor Zaz, who has Choco Chick, who is meta Choco Chick, meta character, obviously. So yeah, I mean, if you do like those characters,
and Ash comes back with Fran.
And Ash does come back with Fran in April. So I mean, if you want any of those characters, yeah, just it's not like you're waiting a year. You're just waiting, yeah, nice Raging, whatever,
Mark, before we move on to EX realizations, do you want me to quickly just jump through notable things with additional abilities and C68
Oh yeah,
passes
please.
for the other
Yeah,
4
there
characters?
are 4 other characters on these 2 banners who got awakening waves. So tell us, let us go.
This is going to be really fast. I'm not going to detail it extensively, but Ash basically gets another small attack and max brave party aura, and her additional ability allows her to raise party's attack and brave overflow. Raijin gets a small party aura to, I believe it's attack and max brave with a C68. His additional ability is a brave plus HP attack that also raises party physical attack. Kefka is selfish. He continues to be. He just improves himself and deals more damage with his additional ability and his C68. Prish, same boat. Improves her base stats with her additional ability and C68. So there you go. Raijin and Ash have the things worth mentioning. Prish and Kefka continue to be selfish.
All right, well, we'll talk about the Heretics and Chaos next week. Do check out Magnol's Call to Arms if you're looking for ideas. Since all of you apparently are pulling for Yuri, you'll just use him and that will be fine. And those of you who don't have Yuri, bring Arnea and you'll also be fine.
Oh my god.
So, moving on to Dimensions and Entropy. Last week as we were recording, we had Tier 7 launch, and Mino was able to walk us through that, and he completed it while we were podcasting last week. But let's just go back to Tier 7. The Tomberry Troop did put out their Tier 8 review, so you can look ahead because that's only a couple weeks away. Mackinac has his entropy list, so you can check that out as well. But I know personally I brought Zach, Iggy, and King, and they tore it apart. As we know, Zach and Iggy were really well suited for that fight, but King was an amazing addition to that team, and he really tore that fight apart. Arrow, Crease, I don't think you're at that point. Arrow, are you at that point?
I'm still bronze plate scrub, so I'll eventually get there.
Someday.
I did beat it. I used a pretty standard team, though. Yeah, I know. I actually purpled Zach because I like Zach. I like playing him. I know.
Gross.
Play something meta for once. And I also used my 2 out of 3 Iggy, and I decided to throw Furion on the stage to finally use them somewhere because I didn't know where else to use them, and it worked out okay. I was running close on the turn count, but I managed it. That 105 turn count is disgusting with all the defense that Behemoth has. Man, I highly recommend a defense debuffer if you have one because it's not fun otherwise.
Yes, that's for sure. So yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of other creative. I haven't seen a lot of other creative things because a lot of us pulled for Zach because Zach is very, very good. So a lot of people used him. So if you have some other ideas on there, we can talk about that. But we can talk about some questions. We haven't had time for questions here in a week or so. So let's move to questions. Kreese, did you want to take us through some questions?
One question's been sitting in the pile for a little while, and as Mino says this is a dumb question, I'm going to just bring it up quickly. Nimbus in Discord asked, what should you do if you already have all the EX weapons in the EX token shop and you just have EX tokens burning a hole? Honestly, the only option is just to pick an EX and either Power Stone it or sit on it until you want to do something with it. Realistically, I don't think most players, or at least I haven't run into any players who've explicitly said, I have all of the EX weapons in the EX shop. So if you're still sitting on it, you can just use it on an EX weapon you don't have and for a banner you might not pull on. For example, as a little hint, I don't think any of us are going to be very keen on the Kamlanot banner next week. So
you think
Shantato's getting her EX realization, and you could potentially just get Shantato's EX from the vendor for the EX tokens if you haven't already. So that is a viable option.
I think that may be, I think I'm only missing 2 from the shop right now, so I think that may be one of them.
And that's it. We'll just leave that question there. I think no one else is going to disagree with that.
I'll take the lead on this next one. Laventine666 asks, host's opinions on booking duplicate EXs for ingots. I think this is a very viable strategy. I don't know what the popular opinion on this is, but as we've said, we get far more books a month than we get ingots. I think it's something about like we average 9 or 10 books a month to about 6 ingots a month. You're not going to get that many. I doubt you're going to get 9 to 10 different EXs a month to book. So I think everyone's going to have an excess of books. And I think it's perfect.
I will say at the moment, Mino, that I currently have a ton of realizable EX weapons I am sitting on and have not booked yet. So
Me too.
I don't know how you're doing, but
more books will come.
If I was at a point, maybe it'll change in the future, but at the moment at least, I'm in a position where if I need the ingots and I have the books to burn, I will book an EX I have not realized at all yet, rather than waste one on a duplicate EX.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't book duplicate before I book all the unique ones that I have first.
Oh yeah,
right,
of course. Right. But I'm saying there's some people who are gonna get unlucky without a huge variety of EXs, especially newer players. If they get duplicates and you have all those excess books, I say go for it. It's not as big of a waste. You're trading a book for an ingot, which I think is a good trade, and then later on, you can sell a 0.3 EX plus for 5 nuggets. So you're essentially getting 25 nuggets for a book. And I think that's perfectly fine. You know, whatever you can do to play the game now, right? Like if a favorite or a fun character comes up that you would just want to 3-3 now and enjoy to its fullest while they're in their prime, do it now. Aaro, do you have any last thoughts on this before we move on?
I am of the belief if you have an EX that hasn't been realized, even if it's junk, I'd rather realize that EX than realize a duplicate. I would only consider duplicates if I was seriously desperate, but otherwise, yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
I have a whole bunch, Aero. I have a whole bunch of junk EXs. Furion, Leon, Machina, so a whole bunch. Just sitting there.
Trying to make fun of all the characters I play. I see how it is.
No, I literally have all those EXs unrealized. Well, Leon doesn't realize, but you get what I'm saying.
All right, Chris, you want to take... Oh, wait, no. Mark, do you want to take the lead on this one?
This next question? Yeah. LG Raider says, who do the hosts think the hardest character to use is and why? Cumlanot. He's the hardest character.
No, you stole my answer! You son of a bitch! This kit makes no sense. I don't understand. It's like they had the leftovers of a bunch of other kits and they just threw it into one character because they had to push him out because he released an NT. And they were just like, hey, look, he released an NT. We need to get... Like, Cumlanot was late as it is. Tifa, Locke, Rinoa, a bunch of these people, Arden, they all had simultaneous releases. Cumlanot came 2 to 3 months after his NT release. Clearly, they were scrambling for an idea of what to do, and they didn't come up with it, and they just shoved him out the door with the worst.
But he's not out yet, so let's see. The characters we currently have, who is the most difficult kit to manage? Anybody have some ideas? I think
Noctis right now is in a spot where he requires a little bit of planning because you got to manage his buffs. You got to make sure he has his debuffs active so you can use his empowered versions of his regular abilities and his HP++ to do the extra damage. He's a garbage character unless you manage him correctly.
Yeah, Ragnamune is saying Preesh. Preesh is hard to use because she's not very good. So they're all those characters. Raijin and Fujin are hard to use too, but Jin Lee's been using Fujin. He's been using Fujin on KS runs. It's been pretty funny. Because with Aarolei you can use whoever the hell you want. Yeah. Enchant.
I will never forgive.
Enchant Element.
Aarolei. I'll never forgive.
Yeah.
But she's not hard to use. She has a fixed rotation. That's the thing.
Very fixed rotation. Yep.
Yeah, that's hard to remember for most people. I want to say.
Okay, I gotta admit, it is actually hard for me to remember because I don't know. I seriously have short-term memory issues with stuff like that. I don't know why. I always have, and her kit drives me nuts. Like I imagine it's very fun if you can remember all that stuff, but not for me, man.
The character that I always forget is, because I just mentioned him, is Furion. I always forget what his abilities do and how to use them. So when I'm throwing Furion on a team, I'm like, I have no idea how to use this character.
Me too.
I don't think his kit is hard. I just can't never remember what the hell he does. But
Slide brings up a good point. Aarolei has a new rotation every time she gets passed.
That is confusing.
So you're you're relearning it every time, and there's more steps every time. But I will never I wanted to add Gau to that. I just talked about earlier how you have to go really out of your way to use Gau, and also I'll never forgive Square Enix for Sabin. I think every iteration of Sabin is awful in this game. His LD better fix him. I swear to God.
You know who's really complicated is King. They really need to pare down his kit a little bit, make it more accessible to the common player.
Joke that led to that question about complex. I already deleted it from the podcast question list, but that was the comment that led into it.
Oh, I have two other characters I think deserve being mentioned for difficult to play, or maybe at least easy to learn but hard to master. Rim. I feel like that's a character. There's a lot of little nuances you always have to remember with her because swap terms screws up with EX cast rates, and you got to kind of play around with that. I mean, on the surface, it's a very easy kit. Oh, let me give this other guy my turn, and let me just heal my party up. Oh, the EX is up. Let me just cast that. You know what I mean? Like, in that sense, it's easy, but maintaining everything for both party members is always kind of tricky. I don't know. Sometimes I goof it up. I feel like. And I just want to give honorable mention to Rem. I don't know, or Realm, because that kit is weird, man. That's a weird kit, but it's pretty effective at what it does. It's just like getting it down is super difficult. Like not to just burn all her skills or anything.
One last shout out to Aarolei. Guys, I don't know how she works It's so complicated. Her delay doesn't even work, Josh. Clearly, all these Facebook users agree with me. A lot of people use her, but I guarantee you they do not know how they work. Because I am looking at scores and video runs of RNA Chaos, Rinoa Chaos, and Gau Chaos. And there are people who use the exact same team, and some people will complete the fight in 30 turns, and some people will complete it in 75 turns. With the exact same team with double RNA. Clearly, so many people do not know how to use her at all. And when I watch people play, it is so painful. It is really
bad. You just HP plus. That's all you got to do with RNA.
Bad.
HP plus.
Josh tried really hard to teach people how to play her.
Yeah.
I know. Next time, Josh, one video per skill next year. Okay. Not try.
I just want like a 20-minute TED talk by Josh on how to play the character.
Can we get can you just spend the next year's anniversary live stream just talking about her kit? Clearly that will help more. Yeah.
Charts and numbers. Yes. Very good. So next question.
Arrow, do you have the outline open? You want to take this one? We're taking turns.
I totally did not even have the outline.
Right.
I never
Back to Kreese.
I'll do it. From I can't pronounce this name. Asyncticable. What character's kit did you think you would hate but end up liking?
Hopefully,
do you want to take it first, Mino?
Hopefully, Yuri.
Okay. Mine's is easy. I mean, I have a lot, but off the top of my head, Lightning. Every iteration of Lightning. I think she didn't get that much. It seems boring, but once she's back in power and I'm using her again, I was like, oh man, she has a fun kit. Every single time, she's got like 3 passes, right? Like her launch, and then her EX, and then the rework. And every time I'm like, wow, this is fun. I keep thinking I'm like, this is an old kit. It's boring. It's the same thing every time, but I enjoy it every time.
Yeah, I'm hoping Yuri.
I actually really liked Leon when he got his rework in EX. I didn't think I'd like him so much, and I kind of luck-sacked his EX, but I've had a lot of fun with him since then.
You thought you would hate his kit?
I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much. He seems so simple, but it actually is a little harder because you got to maintain using abilities properly so that he can refresh his EX buff frequently enough so it doesn't fall off. He needs to maintain his sap debuff if you want to take advantage of the brave gain from that while also not burning his heals. It seems like a simple kit, but it's more complicated than it actually is my opinion.
I can agree with you. After I used him on Entropy Tier 5, I had a lot of fun really trying to maximize him. Slide in chat says Bosch. I've been seeing that a lot, guys. A lot of people, I think we kind of undersold Bosch, and JP kind of undersold Bosch, but a lot of people pulled for him, and I've been using him even till now.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and they enjoy his kit. They enjoy the gimmick of being able to absorb an AoE HP attack onto himself.
Not with one MLB EX unrealized. I tried to bring him into a chaos fight recently. He does not have enough HP to survive. So that's a little rough. But yeah, he is. I think he's a great character. Yeah. Arrow,
Mark,
did you? I think Irv is mine. Irvine. I wasn't planning to pull for him. He was kind of a big skip, and then with RNA, I'm like, I think this is going to work out really well, and so I've really enjoyed using him, and maybe fingers crossed, maybe Yuri I'm gonna really enjoy. So we'll find out this week. So
I think mine. I don't know why I even thought I would regret the purple, but for this era, I really like what Vaughn's become. I used him a lot more than I even thought I would. I literally purpled him because I didn't want a purple Kuja because I hate him. So I decided to do Vaughn. And man, that guy is a powerhouse. And I will definitely be keeping him in my mind for his next weapon upgrades in the far, far flung future because, man, that is he's pretty crazy with that bravery fund and that HP++ that you can build a whole team around. I don't know, man. He's just something else. and I think people really slept on him, and I think that's really sad. I think he's still worth purpling even now, which is crazy because he was like what 2 months ago almost now.
Are you going to use Von in FOE in Dimensions and Entropy Tier 8?
I have
Because
to free him.
he can hit every element though of those behemoths, right?
I'm actually
You can only hit 4 elements.
I'm
and
going
not
to
fire.
I'm going to run
which is a
him
big one.
the
No,
World
his
of Final
his
Fantasy
EX is
Twins.
fire.
Oh
But-
yeah.
but
Wait,
I'm gonna
did
run World of Final Fantasy
okay.
Twins for
Okay.
him for 8. I know I've heard that Vaughn works before he gets the next weapon upgrades in like tier 12 or something. I don't remember the exact number. It's some really high tier, and he works in it. So I might go free him later from tier 6 with King or something. So yeah. I like him a lot. I think he's cool. I think he's definitely something you should consider through 3ing if you have some ingots to spare and you have the EX right now.
That is one.
I
that has
remember the
eluded
person
me.
I really hated that I didn't even want, but I lucked into and enjoyed was Porum. I was like, Porum's dumb. And then I pulled her on tickets, and I was like, I love Porum. She got me through Cosmos and early Chaos. But moving on to the next question, Be Lucky asks, since the release of Aarolei, would you say she is as broken as Saz? Mark, do you want to take this?
Yeah, so here's the thing. If you've been playing since day one, like many of us have, Zaz was the salt and pepper of Defo. He made everybody you put him with better at a time when there wasn't a lot of true support and they didn't have those crazy attack. There was no auras, and the there was not all these frame buffs, and so Zaz literally made everybody better. You could put him with anybody. He made them better. And there was a spike in content difficulty at that time, too, that really allowed that a lot of people were struggling without him. I remember, of course, Pierre never got Zaz till much later. And so he was struggling with content where, those of us who had Zaz were able just to steam through everything. So, but yeah, so I think, Aarolei and Beatrix were super powerful and are going to continue to be powerful, but I don't think anything broke the game as much as Zaz did. So
I've got a slightly different opinion. I feel like Aarolei is more broken because Saz and Beatrix were more necessary. As you said, Mark, we had early EXs with Saz, so it felt like they were designed around him. So he wasn't like broken. And then same with Beatrix. She came to specifically counter hard content and worked really well with the meta. So it felt like content was balanced around her. Content is not balanced around Aarolei. She shits all over everything. So to me, she feels far more broken because when the other two released, they it felt like they considered their presence. Saz was met with the early EXs and Beatrix with Hell Month. Aarolei is met with 0 resistance. This isn't even a particularly difficult time in the game, and she's coming in so much stronger. We just talked about like Gau's Chaos. Everyone's doing 1. She's doing 9999. People don't even realize how strong she is. She's shaving off 30, 40 turns off of fights. She feels far more broken to me.
Yeah, but I mean, in my mind, when you say that, that means that's fine, but that means you don't need her. Like you really, I mean, Zaz and Beatrix really did make things, very difficult things, easier. You have other options currently, including Yuri, who is going to help get you through current content. So, I mean, she's obviously bonkers broken.
That's fair. I get your perspective, but what Wadabu's saying in chat is if we're measuring broken by how many resources it can save you, because with Saz and Beatrix, you still have to pull for a complementary team. Aarolei is kind of going to save you some gems by not having to pull for some DPS or something like that. I think that's the angle I was going for. But Kreese, do you want to weigh in on this with a third perspective?
It's hard for me to judge because I didn't have early Saz. I didn't get him until his 35 CP came back on those daily free banner polls in December that year. So I suffered through those couple of months before the First Awakening wave hit, and I could lean on Terra to carry me through things. I did get Beatrix last year, and I did get Aranea this time. And from what I've seen, Beatrix and Aranea both help to trivialize things. I think Mino's more correct in that Aranea can kind of do it on her own. She does not require other characters to do it. Saz was strong, but he didn't do a lot of damage on his own. In fact, he was a turn stealer. Scores didn't matter too much back then, but he could burn through his own buffs really fast, and you had to be careful of that, from what I recall.
No doubt.
Arrow?
I think RNA is more problematic because I think this is an era where we're supposed to be considering team composition really heavily. And I think she's going to wind up handicapping players who still need to grasp this skill, like on their own. I mean, maybe she can help, but I don't know, man. It just feel like there's nothing really, like you guys said, stopping her right now. And I don't see anything anytime soon really stopping her. And that's really bad to me.
Black Cloud and I had a conspiracy theory that this is actually really good for Square Enix profits because, as you said, it's going to really stunt the learning process for a lot of players on what team building is, because they'll be able to stomp through a lot of chaoses with no thought, spamming skills, as they already are. And then, all of a sudden, Dimensions and Entropy is going to be the hardest content in the game. All of a sudden, it's like, here's one fight every month. You can't use Aranea. And a lot of people who are skipping over the basics of the game because they're relying on this crutch are suddenly going to be panic pulling for the synergy characters that the fights are made for because they're like, shit, well, I forgot how to think outside the box. So, blame Square Enix if you're watching, blame Black Cloud for that theory. If he's onto you and
It's
you
all
need to
him.
kill somebody, it's
all him.
He lives on the East Coast somewhere. Just sweep those states.
Conveniently far away from you, Mino.
And sorry, the last part of this question,
the drone strike can be on the other end of the country. Yeah, it's very nice.
And the last one, I forgot. Be Lucky had a second part of this question. How has her release changed your pull strategy for the rest of the EX Plus era? Mark, if you want to start us off on that again.
I want to thank Hero Cat for rating us. How you guys doing? It's always nice to see Hero here with us. Yeah. I repeat the last question. Mino.
And how has her arrival changed your pull strategy for the rest of the EX Plus era?
I'm not sure that it's changed my pull strategy at all. Besides, I didn't plan on pulling for her, so I did pity her. So that's a thing that I had to do that I wasn't planning for. But generally speaking, my pull strategy has been pretty much the same. And I'm at a point where I have, and even now, pulling the free EX is going to change my pull strategy here probably a little bit, because now I have, 2 characters I can use on Dimension Send 8, and even less reason to pull on Lulu. But yeah, I mean, I'm not planning to do anything but ticket pulls for really the next month and a half, almost 2 months until General Leo. So
basically, it didn't affect you.
I don't think it affected me at all. Yeah,
a little opposite. So a lot of people are saying that it's making them want to pull more because suddenly they can afford non-meta characters with RNA around, like Lulu and Irvine, or twins, certain characters that they weren't even considering before. They have breathing room to pull. True. I went the opposite direction, and now I with all the mapped out pulls we're doing, I actually demoted a lot of gem pulls down to ticket pulls, like this banner. Like I was gonna say, I need Yuri and or Onion Knight for some decent DPS for this month, and now I'm like, I'll throw tickets and see what I get, because at worst I can fall back on Aranea, whatever, right? And for the next few months, it's the same. A lot of things that I thought I was gonna gem pull, I've demoted to ticket pulls, like Cloud of Darkness or Keese or whatever. A lot of these that were like, I might need these to get me by for a while. I'm like, I'm like, nah, I'm okay. I'll just save more gems for burst. Don't pull till burst. Hoarding till burst. # hoarding for LDs. Crease, what about you?
so far has not changed my thoughts on who I'm planning to pull for. So it hasn't really impacted me at all.
Arrow?
I have people I plan to pity, and I'm still going to pity for them. Gosh darn it. They're some of my favorite characters to play in this game, and that's what's important to me. I plan for that. But no, I don't think she's done anything. I pretend she doesn't even exist on my bench until I run her for those events where I'm like trying to just showcase what Aarolei does to chaoses, because I might as well chronicle that on my channel.
So, Arrow, since you're not with us every week, and I do thank you for being with us this week, who are your upcoming pities?
Penelo and
Obviously.
I'm trying to think what the other one is. I don't think there's another one for a long while. I do want Machina's next weapon upgrade. I know that for sure. And pretty much anyone else I'm gonna get, I already have the EX for. They just come really late with the EX Plus. So I mean, a lot of this, I just at a point I don't have to really pull, but I have to like make sure I have resources to upgrade everybody that matters, kind of thing. So just juggling that more. Same thing as always.
Yeah, Macnol, what's your next pity? Now we have a couple.
And Macnol's in chat here saying, advocating for people to pull often and pull for favorites. This guy has 1.2 million.
We currently, to be fair, currently in chat with us watching right now, we have at least three people with over 1 million gems.
Yeah, Jay Dota's one, right? Who are the others?
Jay doesn't have 1 million, does he? He didn't break 1 million.
He says he has a potential 1 million.
He
says he's sitting around 700, 800K.
Yeah,
and he hasn't done any of the hard chapters.
Hiromura has over 1 million, and 5D has over 1 million as well. So
yeah, and it's just like,
and yeah, J.A, one of our mods he made.
Great, but I'm pretty sure he showed me his pull history, and I'm pretty sure it's been nothing but tickets. And so, Macnol, how dare you shame me for wanting to save up a little bit of gems?
Yeah, they always shaming us with our.
I know, always shaming
hards.
us, Macnol. Macnol, I pitied Kane. For God's sake, you can't tell me I don't pull for stupid stuff. I pitied Jacked. You know, there's a lot of bad decisions.
We are all allowed to have a couple of dumb pulls. Mine was forever going to be Palom on initial release. And I got that rim off banner and got so mad I rage pulled. I haven't rage pulled since. I've refused to let myself do it.
Yeah, don't forget Josh pitied Kefka 35 CP. So
he did more than pity, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. and then there's the 145k miss on Titus, and I still don't have him over a year later.
Well, if you have, if you have, by the time we hit Burst Era, if you have 1.5 million gems, then you're going to be able to pity like the first 12 burst weapons, and that's going to cover all the content. That's a viable strategy. I can't wait to see somebody do that. I'm going to have every burst weapon, and it's just going to steamroll content because they're synergy for 2 weeks each.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mark.
No.
I'm of the belief of playing in the moment. I don't know when I'll quit, so I might as well have fun the whole time I'm playing and getting the characters I want when when they're new and strong and shiny again, So that's just my belief. I don't care if I happen to have a lot. I make sure I have stuff for pities that I plan, but other than that, I don't worry about it too much.
Thank you, Arrow, for some levity in the situation. Yes, there's no wrong way to play, and the best way to play, of course, is the way that keeps you engaged in the game. So pull, mix, don't mix, hoard, do whatever you want as long as you keep enjoying the game. The moment you don't enjoy the game and you stop playing, that is the moment that your strategy has not worked, or it's time to move on and do something else. So, yeah. All right, well, I think we've been on long enough. Looking ahead, next week we have Lulu's LC, A New Journey. Then we have Kamlanat's event, Ambition for Provenance. And then we have Pandemonium Ultimate Summon boards. We have Dimensions End Entropy Tier 8 coming on the 10th early this month. Then we have the Twins LC, Mysterious Siblings from a Mysterious World. Then we have the Chiron event on the 18th. Spring Festival starts on the 22nd. And our next Awakening Wave 9 is on the 26th with a raid boss, and that is Cerberus, I believe is the raid boss for that. So a good chunk of content and some unknown content as well. So yeah. All right. Well, Aaro, how can we get in touch with you and find your content on the interwebs?
I am on YouTube as Leilee, Leilee. And of course, you guys can find me on the TCC Discord channel. I moderate there. I answer questions if you ask me. Usually answer your pings if you ping me. So that's how you can find me.
Well, thank you, Aarolei, for joining us as always. And she is one of our wonderful mods and co-collaborators on the Crystal Chronicles Discord and community. So we appreciate that. Kreese and Mino, thank you as always, my wonderful co-hosts. Thank you for all of our mods and friends. Do check out all of their work, including Macno's Call to Arms and all of the good work Quetz does on MateriaBot. Of course, the Tomberry Troop, Inkwelder, and Dreamy, Talute, and Vane Novus, and all of their work in infographics, as long with our other content creators. A special shout out to Hero Moracat. Check out his channel and his Twitch as well. So, hey, this has been episode 91 of the Crystal Chronicles. Until next time, remember next week we have a special SQEX giveaway. So join us live and we will give away a couple acrylic keychains to celebrate the end of the 2nd anniversary and moving forward. So until then, the best of luck to all of you and goodbye.